everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome back to my sewing room. Today I'm going to be diving into a historical costume project, and not only that, but it is part of my fall spooky sewing projects. So we are going to be attempting today to make a chemise a la Reine out of a limited amount of fabric, and it's going to be kind of a spooky chemise a la Reine because I am using this lovely purple voile that I got at the thrift store. So this is a poly cotton voile, and I have a very limited amount of it. I have 3.5 yards. However, it's 79 inches wide. So I'm hoping that with that width, I will be able to actually squeak a chemise a la Reine out of this. And I'm going to try and make this project a little bit easy on myself because personally, I don't love your standard chemise a la Reine look, which kind of looks like this. It's just very puffy everywhere. Like puffy, 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 not very flattering. I know it's supposed to look all lovely and like simple and what a break from reality of the 18th century France, etc. However, I just don't think it looks flattering on me. And I have made one before, so I know this. But what I do like is what is often referred to as a gall. However, I have heard that that gall term is not actually correct, and it's literally, this is just another form of chemise. So these were all called chemise dresses, not necessarily chemise a la Reine. That seems to be a more modern addition that most people did not call them that back in the 18th century. But I'm going to be making a chemise dress with a fitted back and fitted sleeves too, because I like that look better. And also fitted sleeves are better when you don't have a lot of fabric. So I'm going to be doing a gauze slash chemise dress that is kind of ruched and puffy in the front, that has that standard gathered look that you think of as a chemise a la Reine, and then it's going to have a fitted back. It's all going to be right at the natural waistline, so unlike a lot of 18th century dresses, especially of that time, where you really get that dipped down waist, this doesn't have that. This is all right at the natural waist, front and back. And again, we're going to have a hopefully long sleeve, if there's enough fabric, that is a fitted sleeve. And we're going to squeak all of that out of this much fabric, which does not feel like a lot. So again, I'm going to be making this a little bit easier on myself by using existing bodice patterns that I have used relatively recently. So I used the same pattern, but like altered it both times for my pastoral look from about 1.5 years ago, as well as my Katrina look from Sleepy Hollow about 1 year ago. And I'm going to take that bodice and basically cut the backs as is, except leveling off the point so that it's just, you know, right at the waist in the back. And then I'm going to use the front pieces, getting rid of like the fake zone front sort of look that we have, or also the fake like stomacher look that we had on the pastoral. And I'm going to hopefully be able to change that just into kind of a regular bodice shape and use that as the fitted liner that will be underneath the gathered section. The gathering will just go over that. So let's go ahead and dive in. I don't think I need to really mock up the back. What I think I'm going to do for the back is just cut it out of the flat lining. I'm going to flatline all of this in black is my plan, because I want that sort of spooky vibe. So the bodice is going to be flatlined in black. The sleeves are probably going to be flatlined in black, but a lighter weight black than what I'm probably going to use for the bodice. And honestly, I'm probably going to make a black petticoat to go with this as well, because I don't have one. And I think that this is just going to look better over a black petticoat. So yeah, I'm going to cut out the black lining for the back, and I'm going to see if my pattern is close enough where I can get away with doing that for the front, or possibly if I'm going to have to do a mock-up of the front. But let's go ahead and dive right in. So it has actually been 2 weeks since I filmed that intro. If you saw last week's little announcement video, or if you saw like my posts either here on the community tab or over on Instagram, you will know why. So I'm not going to go into it here at all, but here we go. We finally have the mock-up together, and I did cut it out of what I'm hoping and what I now know I can use for my lining, which is black cotton sateen. Though I swear the black cotton sateen at Joann's is just getting like thinner and thinner, so this is honestly a little bit lighter weight and thinner than I would like. But yeah, as you can see, I think it fits pretty well. There's a little bit of gaping like right up here. Some of this is going to go away as seam allowance, so I'm not too worried about it. And also with Chemise on Lorraine's, you have like drawstring ability. So even if this base layer is just a little bit large at the neckline, I can pull that in with a drawstring. It's not a big deal. I did cut off the point both in the front and the back, but I think I didn't quite cut off quite enough. Like you can see right here, it's dipping down just a little bit. So I do want to make that straight across here. And in the back, it is definitely too long. So I do need to shorten that up just a tiny bit there, leaving enough for seam allowance, of course, but cutting off the excess because I think I've got at least ½ an inch of excess in the center back there. And then that little bit right here in the front. So yeah, otherwise though, it does work, which is great. And I can go ahead and cut the exact pieces of the backs out of the purple. And then with the front, I think what I'm going to do is I'm not 100% decided on it yet, but basically I don't want the gathers to be like all the way to the seam because the seam is actually way back here. So this is like a front and side, and I really want the gathers to be front focused, and also like the straps aren't going to get gathered either. So with a lot of times with 18th century bodices, you will see separate straps. This obviously the straps are all cut in one, maybe it's not that obvious, but the straps are in one piece, and it goes all the way to just past the shoulder here as well. But I need to figure out a way to get like this section and this section just flatlined and then this bit gathered. So I think that I can kind of cut like just really long in the front, basically like really wide, and then gather that up but have this bit still fitted to the bodice. I think that is my plan. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cut out the purple pieces for those and start putting things together. Of course, as I am cutting the bodice pieces out of this, I'm realizing that I have so little of this fabric that I am just going to have 2 of these panels to be able to make the skirt. And granted, these are wide panels, but this is super sheer fabric. And yes, I am wearing this over a black petticoat, so I really hope that that helps. But like, this is not enough fabric. The chemise Auburn is probably going to look a little bit wimpy because this should be way fuller with this like lightweight and sheer of a fabric. And I just don't have enough. I'm also not even positive how well sleeves are going to be able to get out of this, because basically like this length, okay, so I don't remember if I showed you before, but there's a random little tear in this fabric in one end. I believe that I can get all of the bodice pieces out of the upper portion of this, even like the gathered part here in the front. I believe I can do that. But even if we look at like the rest of this here, it is not that much longer than what I actually need for the skirt length, because basically this would be the length, and of course I am tall, so this does not go very far. When I hold this up to my waist, I have about a foot on the floor times 2, so it might be that I have like really short sleeves. I mean, I have extra width there, so I could make them shorter puffy sleeves, but it might very well be that this winds up being a 3/4 sleeve, like a puffy sleeve, instead of the long fitted sleeve that I wanted. I guess we will cut things out and just see what's left. So I've cut out the front panel with like as much of the width as I can. Basically, this is up to the center, and I had cut the 2 back pieces out of the area over here. And so this is really not enough, but I need to figure out like just how condensed this needs to be. And also if this part with the shoulder needs to be cut separately. I have right now cut it in one and it's pinned in place, but I'm not sure if that can be a thing, because really I do want the gathering to go to probably about there. So yeah, we're gonna have to see how that all works, because I might have to cut that little bit separately, but I'm gonna do a gather test and see what it looks like. So yeah, while the gathers I think actually are like a good amount, I think that that part works. I did wind up pulling them back to where you can see this like wedge of the layer underneath of the flat lining. So obviously I will either need to like piece in a little patch right there, or I'm going to need to fully just recut the strap as a separate piece that comes down to here and then probably has like a little hand sewn top stitch or whip stitch or some prick stitch, something like that, that will kind of join those two together. I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do because I feel like that's actually a little bit more historically accurate. But the gathering part actually is better than I thought. I don't think it looks like too not enough gathers. I think that that looks pretty good. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest of the bodice pieces now and have them match this, and I guess cut probably a separate strap. I might actually, instead of cutting the separate strap now, I might kind of like put this together and then see, you know, do I have enough fabric to cut a separate strap, or do I need to just do a little bit of a patch? Because I mean, that's fine too. No big deal. Piecing is period. So this is the little part that I wound up piecing in, just this little triangle here, only on the one side, because the way that I wound up cutting this side actually worked fine to be able to not have that. So basically I just cut the like shoulder strap a little bit wider and kind of made that curve shallower. My gathering is slightly different on this side than it was on this side, but hopefully it won't be that obvious. So now I have to take out like all of these basting threads or gathering threads really, and press my seams and try this on to see if it works before finishing off the neckline and the front closure area. So here we go. Here is the bodice all assembled together. As I anticipated, the neckline is gaping, but again, I'm going to be running a drawstring through that channel once I put the bias tape binding on. Basically, I'm just going to kind of have a little hidden drawstring that probably will start from about here and then go around and have a little tie that will tuck right inside the bodice. The rest of the bodice, this is going to be closed with hooks and bars, probably hooks and bars. And because I do have a little bit of an overlap of the two, so that is perfect. The only other place that I am wondering if there is just a little bit extra room is I feel like there's a little room in the upper back. However, that is something that is going to be pretty easy to take in because it's not that there's room in the very top of the back. It's like in between, like right here where my hand is, that's where there's room. So that means that I can go ahead and bind off the top and even add the skirts and the sleeves and everything before deciding if that sort of little bit of extra room is still there and if it's going to be an issue. So the skirts are probably going to be the next bit that I add because I'm going to be using the bulk of the fabric for the skirts, and then I am just going to have like as little fabric as possible that I need for the sleeves. That's what's going to become the sleeves, whatever I have left over. However, the next step to this really is making the petticoat because I can't tell like how little fabric I can get away with the skirts until I have the petticoat underneath. So I am going to be making a petticoat out of the black cotton sateen that I got that is lining all of this and will also be the lining on the sleeves. That way it just kind of looks uniform all over as well. I'm not, however, going to build the petticoat into this dress because I just feel like it is going to be more practical to have a separate petticoat. So the purple skirt will be attached to this at the waist, but the petticoat will be separate because then I can use that black petticoat for other 18th century things or just other things in general as well. So yeah, that is what we're going to do to start off next week's video because we are out of time for sewing this week. But I'm glad that I got the bodice all together, and also next week I am going to be binding off the neckline and putting that little drawstring in so that the fit is done. The last thing to go will be the sleeves though, because we're just going to try to eke them out of whatever fabric I can because this is not enough fabric. Don't do this at home, kids. This is not enough fabric for this project. But you know, when you thrift fabric, sometimes what you get is what you get and you just have to make do. And I probably should have made a Regency dress out of this instead of Chemise à la Reine, but here we are. So yeah, that's going to be it for me for today. If you liked this video, please go ahead and click the thumbs up icon. And if you'd like to see more videos like this from me, please go ahead and click subscribe and the little bell icon to be notified every time I post a new video. I do post videos here on YouTube at least once a week, usually with a sewing vlog like this out on Tuesdays, and sometimes with additional costuming or sewing related content out on Saturdays. But I post every day over on my Instagram, so please go follow me on Instagram. That's at Lady Rebecca Fashions. And if you'd like to help support all of the work that I do on this channel, I do have a link to my Patreon and my Ko Ko-fi down in the description below, or you can send me a super thanks or join my YouTube channel memberships right here on YouTube below the video. I'd also like to give a special shout out to my Edwardian level patrons, Jean, Dan, and Kim. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Happy sewing!